Hey guys, Marmalade here with Marmalade Outdoors, and before I get into the pros and cons of living in your car, I thought, well, I've got a lot of new subscribers lately. Welcome aboard. I appreciate you coming on board because a few of my videos about living in my car have kind of hit and grown. So I want to explain to you. You probably are wondering why I'm Marmalade. What does that mean? Well, it's a nickname I got. I'm a long distance remote backpacker, and I attempted to hike the whole Pacific Crest Trail in 2019, which is 2,653 miles. And I made it about 900 miles and got hurt. And over the last 5 years, I've been trying to complete it. Actually, 4 years. And this year will be my 5th year. Hopefully, I'm going to be done with it. I've been doing large sections every year, but the fires and this year it's snow have been slowing me down. Hopefully, this year I'll finish it. But anyway, on the trail, you get a nickname. I had a big, giant orange backpack, so thus I got Marmalade. So thought it was apropos because most of my content until recently has been about backpacking and gear and the outdoors. But as I've been living in well, let's talk about this car. Actually, I've been in 2 cars since I started living in my car. It's been a little over a year, and I thought, why not go make a video about the pros and cons about this? Because I think, everybody romanticizes about it or whatever, but it's good if you're thinking about getting into this, to know the pros and cons, or just some of them. And I put the ones that I've experienced or the way I see things, and maybe this will help you decide to do it. But my end goal is to do van life someday. And I don't want to work for other people. I want to hopefully grow my channel enough that I can make income off that. I have other ways of making income too, or maybe even have a partial job where I work remotely. But I want to be able to travel the country. I want to have adventures and experiences and bring them all to you. So most of it might be outdoors and backpacking, but my everyday life on the road. I want to show you, I don't know, it could be historical sites or old gold mines, it could be anything, but I want to bring it to you. I love the art of creating something like a video and bring it to you, and it inspires others, so that inspires me to inspire you. So with wanting to do van life, I thought it might be wise to try living on the road first to see if I even like it. I think we romanticize about van life, but just like a car, there's a lot of things that are good and tough about it. So I thought, well, if I can handle living in my car for a while, and once I get a van, it'll feel like a mansion. So that's the premise of this. It's also to save some money. It helps fund my my through hikes, so that helps by not having rent. So that's it. I think we should get on. We're going to do the pros first. And if you haven't already, consider hitting that like button if you enjoy this video, subscribe of course, and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified. But let's get on with number one of the pros. All right, under the pros category is number one, which is probably the most obvious one, is you're able to save money. You're not paying rent, you're not paying utilities on an apartment or a home, things like that. So obviously there are some costs to living in your car that you might not have if you live in a home, but you are able to save a lot more money. One of the reasons that's helped me a lot is, I just mentioned I'm a long distance hiker. When I go hike, if you're doing the Pacific Crest Trail, if you're doing the whole thing, you have to take it takes about 5 or 6 months to finish it or complete it. Now I've gotten hurt, so every year that I've gone back, I'm doing like a month or two. Like this year, hopefully I'm going to finish it, and I'm going to take about 2.5 months off. Well, in that 2.5 months, I'm not making any income. So it's really important that I have other ways of saving money. So I've minimized my life, or minimalized my life, to basically everything in my car, and I have a storage unit, and that's it. So I don't have a lot of stuff, and I do have a storage unit payment. But besides that, I live pretty minimalistic. All right, number two of the pro category is just having the freedom to be mobile, to have the excitement to create and do adventures that you may be not able to do as much when you're locked into a mortgage or somewhere where you've got to be and got to pay rent. And you can't just pick up and leave. I love that I'm mobile. I can take, very often I take 2 or 3 days off and just go hike and go in the wilderness. It's my happy place. It's great exercise. It's where I love to be. So that's very hard to find. And in my case, those adventures happen to be camping, hiking, and backpacking. I like other things too, but that's my main passion right now, so the freedom allows me to do that. All right, number three kind of goes along with number two, but this lifestyle actually kind of teaches you that you can exist and thrive and be very happy with less. What's helped me personally is, I'm doing this reverse of most people, but I've been long distance remote backpacking, like I said, for a long time. Well, you learn that you only need what you carry on your back. I have everything on my back that I need to exist. And when you live that lifestyle, it seemed like an easy transition in the car. The car, I have way more than I ever do backpacking. So it makes you rethink about, where our priorities in life. And I used to be in the corporate world for 25, 30 years and making six figures, and I was miserable and stressed and worried. And I also worked a million hours. I couldn't even get a 3-day weekend off. So, I made money, but my quality of life wasn't there. And I owned a lot of things. I'd buy things just to try to make myself happy. But I realized in the long run, for most of us, that owning a bunch of stuff doesn't make us happy, and it's actually freeing because having connected all that stuff, you have to have a place for it, and some things you have to take care of. And like I literally have, like I said, I have what I have on my car, and I have a small storage unit, and that's it. All right, those were just a few examples of pros. Now we're going to go over the cons, and I just noticed there's more cons than pros, so I don't want that to skew in any way. I think it's just good to be honest with what the good and bad things are, or the tough things about living in your car, and you can decide for yourself. But let's go for the first one. So I'm looking at my notes here. So one of the toughest ones that I found when I started was I had to get over what other people think, because people can be very judgmental. This is kind of counterculture, and it's against social norms to live in your car, right? It's easy if you're not in this lifestyle to just judge somebody and think, well, there must be a loser, or they're unsuccessful, things like that, or they got problems because they're living in their car. There are many people that have very high up jobs actually live in a car or a van. I have two jobs. One is a retail type of job. I got out of the corporate world, like I said, a while back, and it was too stressful. It wasn't worth the money, and I was working all the time. So I decided to trade time for money. So I got rid of as much money, and I have time. So with that said, I have a regular retail job, but then I also do DoorDash on the side, and that way I can work for myself. I make more in a week of DoorDash than I do at my actual job. So when you combine those, that's what helps me save to go hike for 2 months and get away and not earn money. So I save up for about 10 months so I can get away for 2 months. So the other thing in terms of this being judgmental is I've seen that since I've been doing this, it's hurt my dating life. And I kind of haven't actually pursued dating very strongly, but I've noticed, I'm on a couple dating apps, and every once in a while I'll kind of dabble in it, and I'm just forthright on my profile, and I say that this is my dream, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm by choice living in my car. I'd love to do van life, if it's not part-time, but maybe full-time, and would love to find somebody that's into that. But I look at it as, dating or dating apps, you're not there for the numbers. I want to find one great person. So I feel like there's got to be one person out there that doesn't have a problem with the way I look at things when it comes to where I live. So, but it's definitely hurt me because, again, I've been judged and criticized on dating apps because I live in the car and that I want to live in a van and travel and things like that. Although there's so many men and women doing it right now, especially younger people. But yeah, it's just weird. But like I said, I've learned to not let it bother me at all, because if they don't understand it, or they criticize me or judge me, then they're not the right one for me anyway. They don't understand this lifestyle. All right, number 2 is pretty obvious, but the lack of physical space. I happen to be tall, which is counterproductive for a car. At least I have an SUV and not I see some people live in a Prius. I couldn't do that, but I have room to spread out in the back when I sleep, so that's good. But yeah, just having basically it's your eating place, your sleeping place, your office. You talk on the phone, or watch movies. It's everything in one space. So it's just cramped, and like I said, being tall is not great, but I just think for everybody it's just such a small space. All right, number 3 is hygiene and a lack of amenities that you would normally have like in apartments or house, like just a bathroom 10 feet away where you can wash up and shave and do all that stuff you need to do. It's not available in a car, of course. So for me, it's not as big of a deal. I think because men, it's easier. I have a pee bottle so I can pee. I will always kind of pick a place to sleep with nearby of like a 24-hour place, like a gym or a gas station or a store somewhere has a bathroom. I have had a couple nights in the middle of the night, you have to go, and you just have to go. And so I've had to get up in the middle of the night and drive to a store or a gym, go and then come back. So it really breaks up your sleep. But that happens, but it's very rare for me. But yeah, so for the most part, a lot of times I sleep in many places, but I'll sleep by places that have a bathroom, so it's not an issue. All right, number 4 is the interesting one. Lack of community, kind of socially isolated. When you're in your car, you're by yourself, and I'm a social person. I'm lucky because my main job that I go to, I have to be very social. It's who I am, but I have to be very social. I have a lot of interaction with people, so I kind of get my fix. And what's funny about that, although I am a very social person, I'm an only child. I've been alone most of my life. I had a single parent and got out on my own when I was 18. I've just been by myself forever. So I'm a mix of wanting my alone time and then needing some interaction. So my job gives me a lot of interaction. And honestly, when I walk out those doors after 8 hours of dealing with the general public, I'm ready to have alone time. So for me, it's a great mix. Also, I'm good with when I backpack. Whether I backpack with other people, I mostly backpack alone, but sometimes with others. And I'm a talker by nature, but I've learned to be okay with quiet, and not talk. When I live by myself and let's say I don't have a work day, I almost don't talk at all the whole day, and it's kind of neat. I've kind of had to be okay with it and learn how to be comfortable with it. All right, number 5 is a tough one when you live out on your own, and that is an address for legal matters, such as your car registration or filing taxes, things like that. Anything that requires an address, even like a bank or credit card. Um, I still have not, I told you I'm going to eventually be out traveling the country where it's going to become more problematic. But now I work, and where I live and sleep is where I work. So I don't travel very far. So I'm lucky to have somebody that's let me use their address as my address. So I have no problems with that. Um, and once in a while I go pick up my mail. If I do Amazon, things like that, you can send your packages. They have stores like in my area, there's a Ross Dress for Less store, and they have bins or locked lockers in there. So Amazon can send them right to those lockers. So I don't even have to send them to my address to go pick up. The other way you can do that is P.O. boxes, but that can be problematic because you can't show when you use an address that it's a P.O. box. So you have to use some of these postal services. They are a P.O. box, but what you do is you use the business's address, and then where your P.O. box number is actually like an apartment number. So it's like number 50 instead of instead of number 50, you put apartment 50, things like that. But that's how you can get around that. But yeah, it is a tough one sometimes. And then if you travel around the country, if you get mail, I'm in Southern California. If I get mail here and I'm in the East Coast, it's going to be problematic, right? So it's something that so far I haven't had a problem with, but I may have to deal with once I travel. All right, number 6 is what probably all nomadic people have dealt with, which is car problems. And normally, car problems are always a bummer anyway, even when you have a house. I've been a homeowner before, or an apartment, but we rely on our cars, right? But imagine if it's your home, and it's happened to me, but almost all nomadic people have dealt with that. Hopefully you have good insurance and good coverage. But honestly, it's going to be a normal thing because of the amount of wear and tear you put on your car because you're using it all the time. I can give you a personal experience that I had. I've had this car. It's a 2022. I got it in the summer, but I started sleeping in my other car before this at the start of 2022, and it was a very expensive Ford hybrid car, and I think I got a lemon because I had nothing but problems with it, and it was electrical. It was very frustrating. I once had my car driving down the street at 50 miles an hour just stop working and come to a stop right in the middle of the road with major traffic. So you can imagine how scary and terrifying that was. And so one time what happened was, imagine this is your house, okay? And you have everything you own in your house, your car. And it was a hot summer day and I had my windows down instead of rolling the air condition. And I jumped out to do something in the store, come back in. I turned my car on. I cannot get any of my windows up. So now I literally can't go to anywhere, go to the store, I can't sleep on it, I can't do anything because I can't get my windows up. So I had to drive to the Ford dealership. One of the things I do is I pay the extra to get an extended warranty, and I have warranties that cover everything to a certain amount of miles on my car, and literally everything. And so I drove it in there. Thankfully the car drove, but there were so many bells and whistles going off. There was all kinds of things wrong. And so I took it in there, and one of the things you want to do on your insurance is have either reduced or completely covered a rental car in there in case your car breaks down or you're going to have to pay for a rental car every day. So I have that. But what's good about Ford is under my repair plan, I have complete coverage for a rental car. So then it was problematic because they drive me from the dealership. I leave my car there, drive to a rental car place pretty close by, and I'm picking out the cars, and they normally just give you a car, and you take whatever. and it's all going to be covered except for my gas. And but I'm in the back seat looking, and they didn't know why, but I was trying to see if the seats would fold down and be semi-level for my air mattress in the back so I could sleep in it, because it didn't end up taking. It took 2 weeks to get my car repaired. So then it was like I had to drive the rental car over to the dealership and then load my stuff. But remember, I had everything that I live through, and some things I use every day, some things I don't, but I kind of need everything in the car. But then I had to pick and choose, okay, what, I can't bring everything into this rental car, so what do I need? So it was really hard, my work clothes and my hiking stuff and a box of hats and then this and that. It was like really hard to do, so I picked out what I needed. Sure enough, I missed a few things, but I couldn't get back in my car because it was in the work bins getting worked on. So yeah, so just think about it. Have a backup plan in case your car breaks down. I'm lucky because it broke down. It didn't break down, but the windows stopped working, and it was local, so I could just drive to the dealership. But it's a whole nother problem, of course, if you need to be towed or you have some problems like that. Okay, number 7 is a big one. It's a little bit easier for men than women, but it's going to the bathroom. So obviously, a man can use a pee bottle to go number 1. Number 2 is the same for both of us, but yeah, it can be problematic. Also, privacy, and like I dress a certain way, and then when I get to work, I have to dress a certain way. So I actually changed my car, so I have to park somewhere private. So and where I work's pretty public. There's a lot of people around, so I have to just kind of be careful. But for me, the privacy is not a big deal. But sorry, somebody talked to me. So like I said, for ladies, it's going to be more difficult. But I always try to park. Now it's going to be harder when I'm out on the road traveling, but when I'm living where I work, I try to always stay very close to my gym that I'm a member at. There's 24 hours. There's a gas station or two that around where I like to stay that are open 24 hours, and a couple stores that are open 24 hours. So I always try to park very close, if not very near them. All right, number 8 is finding a safe, close, and free spot to camp in every night or to park in. It can be very tough sometimes. Like I have my spots, and one of the things I do, I told you I do DoorDash, so one of the things I do is I have my spots that I always park in. If I start to lose those spots, or maybe they tighten the restrictions on if you can park there or not, so what I do, I have a backup plan. So if you're doing what I'm doing, which is wanting to maybe live in your car, but where you live and where you work, what I do is when I'm doing DoorDash, I'm actually looking for places. I keep my eye open for really good neighborhoods or good places to park. A couple things, I'm looking for signs to see if you're not allowed to park, and if it looks like there's privacy. I really like when there's not many street lights, so you can kind of park in the dark. Also, when I see a spot I kind of really like, I actually immediately look at my phone to see if there's service there, in case you ever had an emergency you could call out, or even just for simple things like using your phone or watching Netflix, things like that. But yeah, sometimes, if you're on the road, you get into a town, but you may have to drive another 15, 30 or even more minutes to get to where you can find a good spot to park. So it takes a lot of energy and effort sometimes to think of, okay, where am I going to park? Do I feel safe? I know it's a little bit more problematic for women too, just to feel safer. But I've been in a few places, even as a man, I didn't feel safe at all, and so most of the time I try to listen to my inner voice and take the time to move and just be okay with it. All right, the 9th and final one is just you spend more money on wear and tear on your car. Things like tires. I go through tires pretty fast because of my 2 jobs. One of them is DoorDash, which is a lot of driving. Tune-ups, oil, just general maintenance. Just things wear more when you're in it all the time. And so just count on that. That's an expense that you don't think about when you just drive your car back and forth to work and do normal things. But when you live in it, things break and wear out much faster. All right, so obviously there's some benefits to living this lifestyle. There's also some tough parts of it, and it's all trade-offs, right? So you have to decide if maybe the pros outweigh the cons or not. I gave you this time, I'm not sure why, more cons than pros, but I really love it. I mean, personally, I don't have too many negatives. I mean, for me, one of the hardest things is just the physical space, if I have a day off where I'm not going to work, that gives me where I get to move and talk and be with people. Sometimes when I'm off, I like not being off and having a day off, but I usually always do DoorDash in the morning when I'm off to make extra money. But I'm in the car a lot, and remember, so I try to go to coffee shops, maybe friend's house, go do a hike, do things so I can move and stuff. But I do have a day once in a while where I'm almost in the car the whole day, and it's very strange, But anyway, I hope this helps you. If you're thinking, you're on the fence about maybe living in your car SUV, hopefully this helps. And lastly, once again, I appreciate all my new subscribers. Thank you for coming on board. Share this video with people if you think it'll help somebody else that's thinking about doing this. Please consider subscribing and liking this video if you enjoyed it. Those two things are free. And even hit the notification bell in the upper right if you want to be notified every time I have another video coming out. I just created a whole list of about 10 things for this topic for living in your car, SUV life, and things that might help you in the future. So please consider subscribing so you won't miss any of those videos. I'm going to start to make them out and crank them out pretty quick now. So that's about it. I'm Marmalade. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you down the road. Bye.